Okay, some disclaimers before we begin this very simple and entertaining topic. 1. I am not a lawyer. This presentation is not legal advice and is for educational purposes only. If you try to use this presentation as evidence in a court case, I want the judge to pause the video and to laugh at you right now. 2. My past success does not guarantee your future success. The people we know are different, our levels of experience are different, our opportunities are different, the items we order at Wendy's are gonna be different. Because of these and other factors, your results may vary. 3. This talk is not all-inclusive. You're not going to learn everything you need to know in just 20 minutes. Please do your own research, especially for what pertains to the service you plan to provide and the community you plan to provide it to. And please don't sue me. With that out of the way, what's up, gamers? My name is Cody, founder of Maho Studio, and welcome to Read Your Contract! Now, despite what your landlord, your employer, your insurance provider, your cell phone service, your credit card company, and dozens of other large organizations may try to tell you, a contract is a negotiation between two or more equal parties. If you've never entered one before, I hope this talk provides an insightful look into how they are made, how they protect you, and common pitfalls to watch out for. While I cannot prepare you for everything you may encounter out in the dangerous world of contracts, I can at least prepare you for a short hike. So who am I and why should you care? Great questions! First off, I'm Cody. We've been over that. Hello! I run a small YouTube channel called Maho Studio. We did RPG Maker content for about 4 years, including my comedy isekai series, Defeat the Darkness, filmed entirely in RPG Maker, as well as a 50-plus episode run of game design podcast called the RPG Maker General Podcast, later called Maho Indie Spotlight. More importantly for this talk, I am a voice director for a number of visual novels, including Of Sense and Soul, as well as the upcoming Moonbriar, both of which were paid, both of which required contracts. You'll hear about Of Sense and Soul again, get ready for that. So, we've only got 18 minutes. How do we get you from zero to hero in 18 minutes? First thing, you gotta know what you need a contract for. You are an internet freelancer looking to find workers or to perform work for other internet freelancers. You want to nail down the work being done, you want to nail down the deadline, you want to nail down when, how, and how much you're getting paid, and most importantly, you gotta protect yourself from bad actors. What happens if you get ghosted? What happens if they badmouth you on Twitter? What if they do both and ghost you while badmouthing you on Twitter? You're just starting to build your reputation in this industry, and your reputation is paramount. You're gonna need to be able to tell people what happened and what was supposed to happen. You're gonna need evidence. You're gonna need your contract. There will be times where you get screwed, it's unavoidable. But to paraphrase the lockpicking lawyer, a contract keeps the honest people honest. You'll get screwed less often if you have written guarantees that reduce the other party's incentive to screw you. Second thing you gotta know in freelancing is to carefully choose who you're working with. When dealing with large companies, absolutely nothing happens without a contract, and I am dead serious, nothing. Let's say you want credit for your work. Simple thing to do, credit. Well, if you happen to remember The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy on Cartoon Network, they had a song about brains in one episode. They would also play this music video on its own as filler for the channel. The composer, Aurelio Voltaire, was handed a contract this thick, and nowhere did it mention credit. The concept of credit being nothing new to Cartoon Network or cartoons as a whole, so very suspicious omission there. The creator of the show, Maxwell Adams, had credited Voltaire at the end of the episode as a courtesy, but when the music video played randomly on the channel by itself, it was credited to Cartoon Network, because they owned it, and they could. Another example, you own a delivery company. You and I, being reasonable people, know that the summer is very hot, and you'd want air conditioning in those delivery vehicles. Well, UPS has only recently decided to install air conditioning in their vehicles after intense pressure from the Teamsters labor union, who last summer threatened to strike over this issue. Unions rock. I'm not saying large companies are evil, but they exist to make money, and a small fish like you is very easy to dismiss, ignore, and take for granted if their contract allows it. So step 2 for a good contract is working with people who are roughly your size, who have incentive to bargain in good faith. Once you've found someone cool who's roughly your size, you determine needs and negotiate terms. Think of it like speed dating. What are you looking for? What are your needs? What are your boundaries? If the two of you find common ground and agree in principle, then it's time to think about a contract. At our level, the personal freelancer level, the amount of detail in your contract does not need to be exhaustive. Focus on making something concise and readable, but also make sure that all of your important protections are in there. Remember that 99% of your negotiations are going to be via direct message, which formed the basis of your contract, and serve as evidence if needed. If you're still worried about certain details, you can ask for them to be in the contract, or just walk away. It's better to walk away with no deal than to sign a deal that is bad. I once went to a car dealership to shop for cars, because I had no car. My friend had dropped me off, and they knew this. They knew which car I wanted to look at, and despite my scheduled appointment, they said it wasn't there. They wanted to sell me a new car. Oh, and it's raining, by the way. Do I really want to walk home in the rain instead of driving home in a new car? Wouldn't it be better to just sign this piece of paper for a certified pre-owned whatever the fuck that puts me on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars? If I don't take their deal, I walk home in the rain. Well, I did walk home in the rain, and it took 52 minutes. And I've got no qualms about it. Their deal was unacceptable. They saw I was in a position of weakness, they wanted to take advantage of me, and I decided that day that I would not be treated like a sucker. Should I have taken their deal, you know they'd keep treating me like a sucker when I inevitably come back for repairs or another vehicle or anything else. Assert your boundaries. Don't be a sucker. Okay, so far we have passed every vibe check. We have a cool partner. We have negotiated acceptable terms. We need to get this game made. It is time to draw up a contract. I could show you numerous public examples from legal websites, from unions like SAG-AFTRA, or from sports organizations. I could show you template contracts from places like Voice Acting Club or docontract.com. And these are extremely useful tools for when you do your own research after this talk, which you should do, because I am not a lawyer. But I also recognize that none of these are going to educate and empower you in the same way as a contract that was actually used for freelance game development business. Which is why I am pleased to present one of my contracts used for game development business. What you are about to see is one of the contracts I signed for of Sense and Soul. It was generously provided by Ingthing of Forsythia Productions, who gave me permission to share it. So if you want to support a cool person making a cool game, please look at this link tree and follow her on relevant socials. Thank you. We'd worked together before on Parasite in Love, which was pretty good and got a little popular. And when she started looking for a voice actor for Of Sense and Soul, I went, yeah, I liked working with her on Parasite in Love. I'd do it again. And after I applied, she likely went, yeah, I liked working with him on Parasite in Love. I'd do it again. Which led to friendly negotiations and a short, concise contract. Like myself, Ingthing is not a lawyer. And while this agreement worked for us, it almost definitely will not work as written for you. Enjoy it as a useful example and nothing more. This talk is about to go very fast and is very front-loaded. If you survive the first 2 sections, you've got the rest. Trust me, I believe in you. Here we go. So, contract of services. This is language unique to Ingthing's region that she must include by law. And it fits, because it's a contract for my voice direction services. This contract is made between Forsythia Productions and myself. I will henceforth be referred to as the voice director in this document. So if Ing ever needs to hire a different voice director or reuse parts of this contract in some other way, my name won't accidentally be copy-pasted into someone else's agreement. Article 1. Services and Deadlines. Section 1.1. What service is Cody performing? 1 live voice direction session. This language will change from person to person and service to service. My voice direction session is what's called a deliverable. It is the finished product I deliver to Ing to advance the project. You're going to find that we kept hard rules to a minimum in this contract because we'd already worked together before and had good negotiations beforehand. Those DMs where we negotiated can always be referenced later as the basis for this contract. Should you require in your contract that a voice director play your game and take notes? Well, hopefully you've hired a good one who's going to do it anyway. If you try to nail down the methods of voice direction in a contract with me, I think it's going to look really silly because it feels like you don't trust me to do my job. But in the future, it might be required for different business partners or different circumstances. Unlike other development assets, my voice direction isn't going in the game, and therefore isn't held to the same standard that other assets might be. Art, music, etc. will need to be of a certain quality for the released game, the details of which are often negotiated in DMs, and sometimes might also be included in the contract. For example, voice lines might be sent to the project owner as a .wav for maximum quality, or .ogg for the best balance of compression and quality, or .mp3 for maximum compatibility across all platforms. Something like that is better negotiated outside of a contract, as opposed to being in the contract and binding both parties in chains to language that may no longer suit everyone's needs. Got all that? Great! 1.2. My job is strictly voice direction. Anything else possibly related to voice acting or audio engineering is not my responsibility. I may choose to do it for her as a courtesy, but it is not required. 1.3. Some of you may have asked earlier, Cody, how is Ingthing going to hold you accountable in subsection 1 with such vague and non-specific language? 1 voice direction session. Well, she has to approve my work before I can request payment. Now you're asking, Cody, how do you hold Ingthing accountable if she refuses to accept your work? And I will say to you, dear viewer, that she has to tell me where I screwed up so I can fix it and she can pay me. Everyone is covering their asses here. Side note, Ingthing's approval also counts as a deliverable. I delivered voice direction, now she delivers approval. 1.4. I must complete my voice direction session by June 1st, 2023. If something comes up, I need to tell her as soon as possible. From there, we have flexibility to negotiate a new deadline. If negotiations fall through, she is allowed to get a new voice director to get the job done. Again, this language may seem a little vague, but she and I already discussed my availability, as well as the availability of the actors, and she just needs a guarantee in writing that I will deliver my deliverable before the deadline. If she's got the live recording files in hand on June 1st, she's happy. Article 2, Compensation. After Ingthing approves my work, I am owed $150. She is not responsible for taxes, she is responsible for sending $150 of her dollars. Related to the above, the next section's second sentence, say that 3 times fast, also does not make her responsible for any fees that may result from sending the money through PayPal or any other service. She may choose to cover those fees as a courtesy, but if she takes $150 of her dollars and sends it in Cody's direction, whatever's left after the sharks and middlemen finish picking at it is what Cody gets to keep. In your contract, make sure that there is language regarding who is eating the fees and adjust your prices accordingly. The first sentence, also big and important. Forsythia Productions is a business. They require paperwork. I must send them an invoice. This invoice is our next deliverable. I may only send the invoice after my work has been approved, and then Ingthing has 30 days from receipt of the invoice to pay me. Are we following this here? Do the work. Work is approved. Invoice is sent. Then payment is sent back. All of these are deliverables. As for the 30-day payment window, this is common in freelance work. If you contract with a large company, they may have a 90-day payment window, and they'll hope that you forget about getting paid. Don't forget about getting paid. Article 2, Section 3, I am a contractor, a gig worker. I get no employee benefits. Common, typical. Article 3, use and ownership. As voice director, I record myself in the booth talking to talent. I retain the rights to these recordings. This is not always the case. It depends on the employer. Ingthing is allowed to use Cody's recordings to promote the game of Sense and Soul and make small changes as necessary. We have at least one silly outtake video, which you can get from the Forsythia Productions newsletter, and making small changes to my recordings includes being able to clip them into usable sound bites for the blooper reel. She needs the right to do that to properly perform business, so it's in the contract. 3.2. Cody only owns Cody's recordings, nobody else's. 3.3. Cody may use his recordings to promote himself, but he must get the A-OK from Ing first so he doesn't accidentally hurt anyone's reputation or spoil the game. 3.4. Cody will receive credit for his work under his preferred name or pseudonym, unless he wishes to go uncredited. I chose to go by Maho Cody because I run Maho Studio. This may surprise you, but Maho is not my real name. We continue. 3.5. Forsythia Productions will not use anything Cody submits in the furtherance of artificial intelligence. Nowadays, there's an organization called the National Association of Voice Actors, and they have what's called an artificial intelligence writer that covers much of the same territory and standardizes the language for everyone who wants to protect their employees and clients from AI. What's a writer? It's like a subcontract. It rides along with the main contract. Google it. We don't got time. 3.6. Many creative jobs will claim ownership of anything you come up with while employed underneath them. When I worked at Amazon, I worked at their warehouse. My job was moving around lots of tiny items for 10 hours a day. It was a creative black hole. However, Amazon's contract had language that effectively said, if you somehow come up with a creative idea that makes you rich and famous, we own it and it's ours. They're not the only company that does this, by the way. Disney. However, Forsythia Productions is not one of those companies. If I write a practice script for our voice actors to help with their direction, I keep it and can use it on other projects. If I turn that script into a steamy romance novel, I can publish it, but since Of Sense and Soul is still Ing's property and not Cody's property, I would still have to make sure I change the names and other details to keep it sufficiently distinct from Of Sense and Soul to protect her intellectual property. 3.7. Everything Cody delivers to Forsythia Productions for Of Sense and Soul will be used for Of Sense and Soul and absolutely no other purpose, unless she gets my permission. And she would really prefer that I had a good reason if I felt I had to say no. Checkpoint. Okay, we are halfway through the articles, and it is time for maximum ass-covering territory. You hope to never have to use the following articles, but they are important for everyone's protection, and it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. They will largely be the same for everyone Forsythia hires, and is a big reason why you refer to people by their titles in contracts and not by their names. Every time you copy-paste these articles into someone's contract, it's far better to accidentally leave in a title like voice director instead of someone's actual name. This may sound silly, this may sound easy to catch, but I assure you it is not. In this very short and very simple contract, there are 47 opportunities to accidentally leave in my name, so it is only present for the bare minimum. I need another drink, goddamn. Anyway, Article 4, Confidential Information. Section 1, I have been trusted with privileged information in order to properly work on the game. Don't violate anyone's privacy. Don't leak anything for Twitter clout. And don't spoil the fucking game. Section 2, this is the same language as Article 3.3. I can use the recordings to promote myself, but don't spoil the fucking game. Section 3, say it with me, Don't spoil the fucking game. Article 5. Oh, you're all typing. Please do it. Article 5, contingency. Contingency is a fancy way of saying risk management, how we continue business if things go sideways. Section 1, in the event of something truly ridiculous, the deadline for the work automatically extends from June 1st to July 1st. We can negotiate this extension further if we have to. Section 2, if one of us engages in the shameful act of ghosting, the contract goes on ice until we regain communication. We will then have the ability to renegotiate or terminate the contract if we wish. Speaking of, Article 6, Termination, Section 1.
Hold on, Cody. I think you're out of sync.
Fuck, you're right. I was reading the script and I wasn't looking at the slides. I am so sorry. Article 5, contingency. Contingency is a fancy way of saying risk management, how we continue business things go sideways. Section 1, in the event of something truly ridiculous, the deadline for the work automatically extends from June 1st to July 1st. We can negotiate this extension further if we have to. Section 2, if one of us engages in the shameful act of ghosting, the contract goes on ice until we regain communication. We will then have the ability to renegotiate or terminate the contract if we wish. Thank you for catching that, Agi. Speaking of, Article 6, termination. Section 1, we are bound to this contract after signing it. Unless something truly ridiculous happens, or, slightly less ridiculous, the work is considered full, done, and complete. Section 2, if Forsythia Productions wants to fire me, they are allowed to do so. They are allowed to use whatever work I've submitted up to that point, but I keep any money they've currently paid me, as well as the rights to my recordings. Article 6, Section 3. We must make a good faith effort to resolve disagreements. We must take at least 1 week to discuss and attempt to solve any disagreements before either side can end the contract. Article 7. There is no Article 7. Sign here, please. And that's it. Did this look like a contract that you could see yourself signing? Was there something that you felt was missing or didn't make sense? Good. Apply that critical thinking. Just as every person is different, every business relationship is different, and every contract is different. This contract worked at this point in time for these two people. And like every person and every business relationship, our contracts, and yours, will continue to evolve as our needs and goals develop. I would not be here without business partners like Ing who were willing to take a chance on me and give me these opportunities. This industry has a lot of fun people, but not as many reliable ones. Remember that any sort of collaborative project on the internet carries all the risk of being on the internet. When it comes time to do business, you need solid partners who will protect your interests and who can be sure you will do the same in protecting theirs. You need to offer and receive important guarantees to build your reputation. You will need your contract. Thank you.
All right. That was amazing. Amazing you caught up your script in like 30 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, back to questions. We have a couple of minutes. So one person asked, has anyone completed a set of basic, simple templates for common visual novel tasks? For example, drafting, revision, promo, IP control stuff. Do you know of any templates out there?
No.
All right. Hey, Nai, I got a project for you. So
yeah, so the only one that's really been done was the voice acting one, and that covers not just game dev, but any sort of amateur project. So shout out to Voice Acting Club once again for taking care of their community and building that kind of contract. But as far as like writers, programmers, artists, yeah, no, you're just building it from scratch, baby. There we go.
Maybe we can get a wiki thing up of common sane terms or something. So someone think about it, and see if you can create something. All right, next question. Does anyone have any lawyer recommendations for helping create contracts like this? I know that there are personally a couple of lawyers out there who advertise as being specialists in game development related tasks. You can search them out. There's whole groups of them, but do you have any other recommendations?
I watched a guy named Bruce Rivers on YouTube. He's a criminal lawyer, and he has been sponsored by eForms. So maybe eForms.com has you covered because those are written by lawyers. Um,
Damon is also recommending get a lawyer that works with IP. Do not get someone who does real estate work. Do not get someone who does criminal work, traffic ticket work. IP law is a law place that you can specialize in.
Yes, yes, IP law, intellectual property law, because as you've seen, like I in this contract, we have to nail down who owns what, right? So usually with work for hire, like if you're a voice actor, the voice actor doesn't keep the rights to the recordings. The only reason you made the recordings in the first place is because someone paid you to do it. So they paid you, they keep it. And then that will also change with, say, composers, where often the soundtracks to indie games get sold separately on Steam. So who owns the music after the game is published? Who gets the money from those soundtrack sales? Those are also would have to be negotiated separately.
Yep. All right. There's a lot of other things, but I don't want to step on other Penta's time. So yeah, go ask the rest of your questions in chat. Thanks very much, Cody. And Penta, I believe you are up.
I am, though. Give me a minute. If someone else actually has one more question, I realize I should get links real quick to all of the resources that I just mentioned. So that way, at the end of my talk, when I say, check this out, I can just paste something in chat. Because I forgot that last year.
All right, I'll keep this up for a little bit longer. Just yeah, kick me whenever
Yep.
you got to kick me, Agi.
Cool. Yeah, you can just grab it whenever you're ready, Penta. I don't need to.
Okay, thank you. Really should just be a couple. Well, I'll just start, because what if I go over time?
Oh, there's break right after this one, so you're ready.
Oh,
doesn't flex.
that's true. That's true. I'll just post my stuff during the break.
That works.
Okay, so one moment. Let me remember how to share my screen on, or Okay. Or rather, let me remember how to only share my slides, so that way you're not seeing all of my notes and stuff. And
should I stop sharing then?
Yes.
All right, I'm out of here.
Okay.
And
People only see a slide.
Yep.
Okay, cool.